On the stage, if you're on a stage, you have to entertain people. If you could not entertain people, if that does not make sense, in whichever stage, how big or small stage you are, it does not make sense, nothing makes sense. If you have given a team, you have chosen a team, or you're working with a team, the team has to have whole lot of confidence with you. The team is the most important key with whatever thing that you do. And most important, what you choose next, what you decide next, or what you choose in your career are determined by only those two things. Can you take the advantage of the stage provided to you? And can you have a team to back you up when you are on the stage? I know this will not make more sense. So after I came back to IIT Roorkee, from IIT Roorkee, it was like very bad for me because I was very confident on my stage abilities, mainly on dramatics. So it was like destroyed at one moment. I believed that I used to be a university second topper. So I believed that most of the people who will be working with me will continue with me because they like to be in colleges, you like to be in the people who are doing good. But that never happened. And the day I entered the college, I found that the results were also not good because I was preparing for that play. So when all of these three things were suddenly like removed from my hand, I had no option, and I was running out of my mind in situations what I have to do next. And that led, after 2 days of thinking, to go into a random room in my college, meet one of my seniors who was doing a chemical engineering. By the way, I was doing computer science engineering, and ask him, let's do one thing. I didn't know what I have to do. It was just a random thought. Let's do one thing. Let's create a short movie on child exploitation. I didn't know. I thought something. I didn't know what went at that time in my mind. So he said, and he didn't know me much. We have worked or we have seen each other together for a time, but he didn't know. It was a very random room in the college at 5 AM in the morning when no one wakes up in an engineering college. So I went there and I asked him, let's do one thing, let's create a short movie on child exploitation. And he said, okay, fine. Then I said, let's create a movie on child sex exploitation, and the child will be me. So that was little random for him. And I guess it was 8th or 9th of November, and I wanted that to be launched on 14th of November. That was the Children's Day in the college. So he agreed with me, and he came to that side, and that led to starting my first venture called ViDei. So we expanded into 3 different domains after creating that movie. We expanded into the informations, infotainment, and innovations. So we collaborated with almost like 25 people from very different colleges. So we had a college from NSIT Delhi, we had a college from Gujarat, we had a college from South background in SRM University. So we got the good people from there and put them in small groups and see if they can deliver the product, deliver the movies, and deliver the information related to it. In these 3 years after that, I have decided that after that IIT Roorkee debacle, I never thought a moment what I have to do next. I just choose the opportunities that were coming to me. And that led us to work with the best of the clients, including Microsoft, Verizon, Aricent. For the innovations group, we created software for them, services for them, and we had our guys working at them in different internship programs. It also led us to create India's first 3D animation movie created by students called Koshish 2. Koshish 1 was our first short movie, silent movie, but we created India's first 3D animation movie made by students. The longest one, I guess, 35 minutes. It was a 35 minutes movie on AIDS. And this was done by our infotainment team. So we had 3 teams at ViDei. This was my previous startup when, just after the Roorkee debacle. Now, in the midst of all these things, what happened that someone came up with the idea that Microsoft runs a competition called Microsoft Imagine Cup, which is, by the way, world's largest software competition for students, because 375,000 students across 72 countries participate in the event. That means there's only one team from each country which goes and participate at different areas of the world. So it came in back when I was in first year of the college, because all these things were happening in the first year and third semester, I would say, in the college. And for the next 4 years, I, with very different teams, participated in Imagine Cup. We could not win the first time. We were like in the first round. We could not win the second time. After the second time, we changed the category where we participated. We participated third time. We went into the national finals. Due to exams, we could not go through. We could not win third time. And fourth time, almost like my university career, after 4 years, I actually won first Imagine Cup India Software Design, first Imagine Cup India Software Design Accessibility, and first Microsoft Imagine Cup Worldwide People Choice Award. So after 4 years, in these 4 years, I never won an Imagine Cup. And it became like a madness, and that addiction of doing things. The addiction that I have to win Imagine Cup. I have to win this thing. Like, why in the world cannot I win Imagine Cup? If this is a very small thing. If I can't win it, then that might be the possibility that whatever I choose next, maybe I leave it in the mid of move ahead. But I didn't leave it. So after 4 years of Imagine Cup, I and our teams, my team, 4-member team, won Imagine Cup India and worldwide. Now in the process of since we were working, we were coding and we were developing products. By the way, we developed a solution for the dyslexic kids, if you wanted to know about the product that won at Imagine Cup. So I will come to that. I was particularly working with a team at AID, Patna, which is a chapter of AID India, Association for India's Development. And I was also working at a team called National AIDS Control Organization. So I worked at NACO for 6 years, and I worked at AID Patna in my college. So in the college, we used to go on the weekend to teach some of the slum kids who were working at the slum areas. So I found that most of the things that I'm teaching them, they're not able to grasp that. So let's say I'm teaching them apple. So it should be spelled like A-P-P-L-E. Now I come on Saturday, I teach them the same thing. I come back on Sunday, I teach them the same thing, apple, and even then they are not spelling it correctly. They're spelling P sometimes differently, they're having problems with pronunciation, and all these things does not only irritated these kids, but also irritated the hell out of me that when I'm a good student at engineering, why I can't teach this kid? Why he's not just understanding that word apple has to be written A-P-P-L-E? That led us to know about the problem of dyslexia, and that's where we created a eye tracking hardware combined with a software combination which checks every details of the child and helps to identify dyslexia at a very early stage. And then through a series of games developed online, which are very educational games, they had to practice and do the different areas of the dyslexia that they have. Now that got very well. Not only Imagine Cup, the project also won at NASSCOM Social Innovation Honors and UNICEF Awards. But it was very difficult for me to choose from what I was doing in the college and what I was doing after the college. So both interested me in the similar manner. The coding and the development of the programs accepted me, this products was good for me, and I was loving that as well. On the other hand, spending some time with the kids, going and having kind of small nukkad nataks, if you understand, the street plays in areas, red light areas actually, and teaching people why condoms are important and why a safe sex is important. These things are also interested me because they not only kept the time going up, but they also made me sit in the ground and see what are the actual things that I can do. But one incident helped me in deciding which one to choose. I was in Kahalgaon, and there was a child in the relief camp at NACO that was working. Her parents had already died because of the AIDS, and we were like in the hospital, and you know the government hospital conditions are not very good in India. So it was March or something like April of 2012 when I was there at Kahalgaon, and then a child was very ill. because breastfeeding could not happen at the good time. She died in my hands. And at that moment of time, it was very, I can't explain that moment of time. And after 2 months, after working 6 years at NASSCOM, after 2 months of this incident, I resigned from NASSCOM and said that this is enough. Not because I was, not because the child died, but because I could not do something. The moment you feel helpless, the moment you feel that you can't do something, you have to choose something which you can do better, which you can do better than many other people who are in that field. So at that moment of time, I left NASSCOM and I decided to adopt a child. So I have a child of my own, though I'm not married and no plans in the current future to get married. It's called Manjari. Manjari is a Hindi word which means the first flower of mango tree. So these were happening, and then I was offered from 3 companies, being a good student, at Amazon, Microsoft, and Mu Sigma, each like 16 lakhs and 15 lakhs companies. So, but I decided after a message that came from New Zealand, Auckland actually, from Devesh Kumar, we call him Vinny Lohan, that he was planning to come to India and do a startup. This was the end of my college life. So he sent me a message and said, you want, he said in the Facebook message, this was a Facebook message, and he said that I'm coming to India to do a startup. Are you planning to take up a job or startup? Because my placement news of Amazon was in the newspaper. And I readily agree with being in a startup, not because it's cool. I was hearing to Vinod Khosla, and he says that the number of people who want to be entrepreneur is more than the number of people who are actual entrepreneurs. Do you see that in engineering? The number of people who want to be engineers are more than the number of people who are actually engineers. That's not true. The number of people who want to be engineers are less than the number of people who are actually engineers. Most of us didn't want to be engineers. So that means entrepreneurship is difficult. But I know that in that space I could do better. And that led to establishment of our current company called WhiteShark. WhiteShark just because WhiteSharks are the only creatures in the universe who always have to dive forward. Because the water is pushing their gills, and that is providing them the oxygen. So if they, in any case, stop or do not dive forward, they will die. And that's why it's called innovation is oxygen. Now there were a couple of questions that I thought had been asked from me and that had been coming into our mind. Why startup when you had several options? You got a job, you had an options, why you choose to do a startup? I see startup to be, I'm frankly speaking, it's difficult, for sure. You have to decide on so many things. You have to choose the best. You have to take the hiring decisions, which are very difficult in India. Hiring is very difficult. But you choose to believe that this is the best thing that you can do, then you have to do a startup. And for me, it was a case different. For me, if I could get the job offers that time, any time in my life, if I could apply, if something happens badly, if I apply for these jobs, that can happen. So similarly, if you have a job offer and if you're thinking of being in a startup, or if you are starting up a company or looking forward to work in a startup, don't be afraid of that. Because if you have got a job now, you can get a job later as well. That's not a luck. And if that's a luck, then stop yourself and don't join a startup. How did the parents agree? Well, this is the most important question that most of the people agree. See, how do the parents agree? And why? What do I have to tell to the parents? I mean, you have to tell them a story. You have to tell them what struggle they did when they were young and relate to your story that what you wanted to be. I told my parents that you have come up from village, run up from village and have done much better than your brothers and sisters. Let me do something that I want to. And I had a very good long discussion with them. You had to talk to your parents in something that you want to achieve. I don't think, is the startup most safest option? I don't think so, that the startups are the most safest option. Banking, there are so many other jobs that are more safer option than the startups. Startups are not like a business. It takes time. It takes maybe a decade or maybe 5 years or 4 years to churn out and understand what you actually wanted to do. So if you are just thinking startups to be cool, if you want to be in a startup or maybe part of a team, then don't think so. How we believe in team. This is the most important thing. You have to believe in your team. You have to get your team right. The best team of the world you have to have. You have to have your confidence in the team. If you have not your confidence in the team, don't work. You have to that confidence that 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, whomever I'm working with, how many people I'm working with, has to be good, has to be really good. They will make up the most important decisions for you, for the team, and for your journey when it comes. Maybe this is also a question. Okay, I've been in CSE, computer science engineering, or have been placed, so it was little easy for me. What I've been in a core branch like EC, let's say EC, EEE, and I have not been placed, what I should do? Let me tell you one thing, and that is the last thing that I'm going to tell. Whatever I tell you, whatever other speakers have told you, that does not make sense. That makes sense, but for their entire life, for their life. What you choose next, what you choose for you, that makes sense. Choose the best of the thing that you want to do. You want to buy a bicycle, do that. You want to enter a startup, do that. You want to kill a minister, do that. We have not seen so many things. I mean, this is one life, one game. How many of you think that we will get another life to do something? And how many of you think that after 20 years I can do that? I don't think so. And you should also stop thinking that. The best part of your life is that you're a student. You get permissions for everything. And you can do anything that you want. There's no pressure. No attachments, no relationships, nothing. Decide now what you want to do, one thing at one time. The best thing. Maybe it can be just learning JavaScript. Maybe creating up a car. And do that. Take up the best of your team. Work and look after a platform where you find. And crack on that platform. Thank you.